This is chapter 1, Operations with Real Numbers. Let's start with absolute values. The absolute value of a number n is the distance between n and 0 on the number line. For example, the absolute value of negative 15 is 15 because there are 15 units from 0 to 15, actually to negative 15. The absolute value of 9 is 9 because there are 9 units from 0 to 9. Let's add a negative integers and a positive integers. First, we want to take the difference between the absolute value of the two integers the sign of the result is the same as the sign of the number that has the largest absolute value. So for example, negative 13 plus 8, first, we take the absolute value of negative 13, which is 13, the absolute value of 8, which is 8. The difference is 13 minus 8, which is 5. But because the absolute value of negative 13 is bigger than the absolute value of 8, therefore the answer is negative 5. Now let's add two integers with the same sign. Once again, we take the absolute values of the two integers and we keep the sign. So for example, negative 25 plus negative 8, we take the absolute value of negative 25, which is 25, the absolute value of negative 18, which is 18, we'll add the two together and we keep the sign. So 25 plus 18 is 43. Since both are negatives, then the answer is negative. So negative 43. Now we can add and subtract integers, in fact any numbers for that matter, by this couple of steps. So step 1, we look for two negatives and we make it a positive. Second, we look for integers that are negatives and there are positives. Step 3, we add all the negatives together, we add all the positives together, and then we finish by adding those sums together. So for example, like this example, I have two negatives, so that make it positive. Now the 4, the 11, and the 9 are positive, so we add 9, 4, and 11, which is 24. The negatives are 17 and 16. Together give us negative 33. Therefore, 24 minus 33 is then negative 9. Negative 9 is the answer. Now, what about divide and multiply? Now, we divide and multiply a negative integer and a positive integers. The way to do this is just simply multiply or divide the two integers, and the result is always negative. That is, the answer is always negative. So for example, like 4 times negative 5, which is 5 times 4, 20. A positive times negative is negative, so the answer is negative 20. Same thing with division. So 40 divided by negative 5, which is 40 divided by 5, 8. A negative times a negative times a positive times a negative is negative, so the answer is negative 8. What about multiply and divide two negatives? Well, the result is always positive. So for example, negative 8 times negative 2 will be a positive 16. Okay, so two negatives make it a positive. Same thing with division. So negative 20 divided by negative 5 is still a positive, so positive 4. Now, what about multiply and divide 0 in a number? Multiply integer and 0 is always 0. So 5 times 0 is 0. 0 times negative 10 is still 0. Now, dividing a little bit tougher. Integer divided by 0 is undefined. 0 divided by a non-zero integer is 0. So 5 divided by 0 is undefined. But 0 divided by negative 10 is 0. In other words, we cannot divide by 0. Next, let's talk about factor set. Factor set are just all the factors of a number. Now, factors are those that get multiplied. So, find the factor set of 12. Let's say 12. I want two numbers multiplied together gives me 12. So 1 times 12, 6 times 2, and 3 times 4. We want just whole number. There are no others, so those are my factors. So the set is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 12. Once again, factors are those numbers that get to multiply. In this case, we look for whole numbers. And that's why you see 1 times 12, which is 12. 6 times 2, also 12. 3 times 4, 12. Therefore, every numbers are factors of 12, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, and 12. Now let's talk about prime numbers. Prime numbers are numbers that are bigger than 1 and only has two factors, which are 1 and itself. So this is the list of first 10 primes. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, and 29. So 39 a prime number? No, because I can take 3 times 13. Those are factors of 39 that are not 1 or 39. So 39 is not a prime. Next, let's talk about prime factorization. That is the product of only prime numbers. So find the prime factorization of 120. Remember, we only look for prime numbers. So let's make a tree table, actually tree diagram. Okay, so this diagram, you see that 2 times 60 is 120. 2 is a prime, so we keep that. 2 times 30 is 60. 2 is a prime, we keep 2. 30 is 5 times 15. Again, 2 is a prime, we'll keep the 2. 15, that is 3 times 5. 5 and 3 are primes, so everything now are prime numbers. So we got 2, 2, 2, 3, 5. Therefore, 120 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. All these numbers are prime numbers. What about exponents? 4 to the 3 means that you take 4 times 4 times 4 3 times, which is then 64. What about negative 5 squared? Negative 5 to negative 5, which is 25.